good?
Yep.
All right, welcome to the May 28th meeting, March 28th meeting of the Select Board. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everybody have an opportunity to look at the manifests? All good?
Yeah.
Okay, motions?
Make a motion to select the accounts payable manifest of March 21st, 2022, and the payroll manifest of March 22nd, 2022.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, minutes. Everybody have a chance to look at the minutes?
Yeah. There were one or two corrections, right? Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 14th, 2022 as amended.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. Boards, and committees, budget. Just off-season, right?
It's nothing.
Nothing?
We still haven't appointed anybody for who's on budget, who's on, but we didn't continue that conversation from last meeting.
Do you want to continue it tonight?
Well, we gotta assign people to the boards, yeah.
Okay,
We didn't officially do that at the meeting. We only assigned you and Tony
okay.
as the chair and vice chair.
All right, we'll come back to that. There hasn't been anything on Marston, so
You gotta sign.
we got a sign. We have a very nice new sign. It's in Chris's office. Okay, town administrator.
No, 300, so,
Oh, do you have 300?
so, they are asking permission, they have a beer distributor that wants to make some beer for the, not just for the celebration, but sell it. And I'm not sure, maybe 30 cents, something like that, a can that they sell, but they wanna use the, you know, the logo we got there. They want approval to do that, someplace in Derry. I wasn't at the meeting, so.
603 Brewery and Dairy?
I don't know if it's 603, it's somebody that, Bob, the one that's doing the reenactment, Davidson, knows.
So they want to sell it in their brewery, or they want to sell it here?
Wherever, yeah.
They want to sell it at our events?
I don't know about that, I don't think we can have
Okay.
beer at our events,
Okay.
but leading up to it, but they're gonna somehow get some money to the 300 committee for it.
Is this like a short-term thing, or like a?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be,
Not forever?
yeah, Nottingham beer probably won't.
I don't know, I'm not against it. It's not the worst idea ever. But it's not the,
That's what I mean, the cans, yeah.
I think, I mean,
Is it going to be a good nut brown ale or something like that?
I should've had Steve come, he's probably watching, so.
Steve, come on down.
Yeah.
Bring beer.
Bring samples.
I mean, do we need more details about it, or just say, I don't know.
Why don't I?
I feel like I
get-
need
yeah,
more
you get
details.
messages. I have no problem with it either.
I mean, the idea sounds great, so I
Yeah.
think we should just give a little more detail. I think it'd probably be something that's worth.
Drink one of them beers and you probably wanna succeed from the United States. That's right.
Has anyone raised the prospect of just serving beer at an event
Well,
in town?
I think, remember they wanted to have, when they were up at the square, was the old school or whatever. I guess there's a bar in there. I mean, they have talked about that before, but I think that, the chief said that we couldn't do it.
Depends on who owns the land. It's not our, that particular facility doesn't belong to the town, so, just curious.
Yeah, all right, I know.
Might be a nice pairing for a fireworks display, or, you know, I don't know.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of alcohol besides the ones we'll.
Not to say that there won't be some anyway, you know.
Not that we know, not that we know.
Right. So I'll have him,
Yeah, a little more details on it would be good. Okay. Okay. Did you go to planning? Was there anything for planning?
No?
Okay, nothing for CIP, because you're done.
No, it's off season.
Fine, okay. Town administrator.
Oh, I didn't go to the planning board because the planning board was basically just assigning during that time and session. They don't discuss any planning board business, they only discuss their bylaws and their, appointing of officers.
Got it.
That's the only thing that happens at the board meeting, so I just didn't feel like
Okay.
that it was, well, needed me to attend because
Okay.
I can read about it.
All right, Chris?
Just a few things. We've got open positions that are all visible on the town website. We're hiring, we hope to hire anyway, a police officer. We need 4 firefighter EMTs by September. We've opened that pool just to, because we know we're gonna struggle to fill them, so Chief has started searching for candidates there. Truck driver, laborer for the highway department, we have a slot open there, full-time, and we're always looking for summer camp help, so there's suddenly a flurry of those opportunities. Everything's on the website, but not yet on the website. I don't think I brought a printed one with me, but we're gonna have an RFP, a request for proposals for IT support services going up. We have historically had one, contract's a strong word, but one relationship with one vendor that took care of our PD networks, and one that took care of the town side. The folks, the woman that had been doing the PD side is kind of retiring and letting it go, so we're gonna take that opportunity to look for somebody to do both, get it all under one roof, and see if we can find, I'm sure we'll find somebody, but it's always been kind of two houses operating next door to each other, so we'll be releasing something on that probably tomorrow. Plenty of good prospects that we know work for other towns, do all this stuff. I'm not nervous that we won't
Would that be a
find somebody.
part-time position?
It's not a position, it's just a contract,
Okay.
consultant basis kind of thing that we'll look for, as part of that, we'll look for a kind of an overview of where we are. We haven't really done a global look at our IT situation in a while. We just kind of limp along and make sure everything works. Security in particular. And try and turn that into a plan for upkeep that's a little more coherent than our Band-Aid approach. Again, not something new to anybody or to any town. I'm confident we'll find somebody good. But, I think I wrote this to you, the NHMA policy process is ramping up again. That's when they set their priorities for the legislature, and what does the NHMA want to advocate for on behalf of cities and towns? Are there bills that you'd like to propose? Are there things that, this process is a multi-month thing that turns into the marching orders for NHMA's lobbying efforts. So if I sent you a couple things, look them over. If there's anything you want to dive into, if there's things you want to propose, there's a mechanism for doing that. We can send stuff into that process. I sit on one of the committees that prioritizes things and languages them. Matters a lot because the legislature's been beating up on cities and towns quite a bit lately, so it's been a rough go for towns generally.
Was there anything there that you felt was really important for us?
We haven't seen the proposals yet, so you'll get a whole pile of this stuff. You recall this.
Yep.
Yes, we're in favor of that. No, we're not in favor of that. We're not that far along. This is the collecting of ideas stage. So if there are particularly new concepts, this is the time to flush
Were
them
there
out.
any new concepts that you thought should be?
No, I think there's so much that is already important and unsuccessful. We just keep trying on that stuff first. Those are the top. They do a pretty good job of prioritizing things. One thing that's floating about right now, there was a little bit of press about it today, talk of suspending the rooms and meals tax, like taking a holiday from the rooms and meals tax. from collecting it. That, depending on how the legislature does it, could have an effect on us because we get a bite of those funds. A big chunk of rooms and meals tax revenue is divvied up back to towns, on a formula basis. Nobody said anything about how, if or how that hole would be filled for the cities and towns. They're just talking about relieving the burden of paying the tax, but so that's worth keeping an eye on. I haven't heard much about the gas tax in that regard. I think that formula works a little bit differently, but if they start taking days off from collecting taxes that we depend on, that turns right into missing revenue for us come tax rate setting time. So that's worth keeping an eye on. Because we don't, all we do with something like rooms and meals tax, we take the check that comes in from Concord and take it right off the tax bill in October or November. We don't have any control over any of it. It's just math. Whatever comes in, we take off the tax bill, period. There's no judgments, there's no decisions to be made about it. Tens of thousands to us. Yeah, I'm gonna, off the top of my head, I'm gonna say 45. But I could be off by quite a bit, but I'll dig it up for you, but, what they take for a holiday and do they backfill that money for the cities and towns could all be whole for us, I don't know, but. Yeah, we got our highway grant. Yeah, highway, it's dead, we have to spend it on highways, but we get, indirectly, we get highway grant money, from that tax. It may not be the same straight line that rooms and meals is, but it's state money that comes our way by way of that, so. We don't, that one we actually have a little bit better visibility on because it's kind of almost set in law differently than rooms and meals. Rooms and meals is very much driven by what comes in on any given quarter or month or something is what the state tends to. Yeah, very much so. But you'll see more media about that, good, bad, or indifferent. And then lastly, I also mentioned to you, the school is asking about the election calendar. I asked that without checking with you, they seem to need to know what they're, they're trying to plan their school year calendar for 22-23, this coming fall through next spring. You haven't asked, but we have a September primary and we have a November general in 22, and then we have town meeting again in 23, all falling within their next school year. You will recall that the election officials had asked to go to the school from the most recent round of stuff for a couple of reasons, one being space and distancing. The other being trying to avoid changing the voting location. If we bounce around, we have to notify the voters, and there's obviously some confusion. We've already had confusion in the past where people came here looking to vote and we're expecting to go here, expecting to go there. So you don't need to decide tonight. I did ask them to hold those dates, but I think we probably ought to have a conversation about, do you want to ask the school for a routine of some sort there? It works over there, but it's unfortunately for them, it usually means taking a day off from school, so it really screws up the calendar there.
Are they objecting to that?
No, they've not been. I haven't even heard that in them. They're trying to be helpful and plan ahead, and that's all. I've not had any sense that they are resistant to that, but we haven't had an honest conversation about it either. So.
Well, the numbers, I think, this year were pretty much the same as they were last year as far as the number of voters coming. So, can this place sustain those numbers going forward? They are higher.
Yes.
1,400, I think we had.
Yeah, that's getting a little bit busy for this building, I think. For that town, like, we know the November, this building can't handle that. That's clear. The September primary is so hit or miss. If it's competitive, there's probably more turnout, and they're talking about moving that to the summer, so I don't know about that one. But if we're gonna consistently have 1,200, 1,400 people coming up to to paper vote under SB 2 for town meeting, which is new, right? We just had our first non-really bad COVID SB 2 local election.
And it takes longer. It takes people
The process
longer.
takes longer, right, so the voter is in the building longer because of the longer ballot.
Yep.
That's not gonna change, it's gonna
Yep.
get worse,
Again, there's more seating over there for people to vote than when we have here,
definitely.
Yeah,
so.
We're not screwing up the school, I say we do it at all elections at the school.
Yeah, just keep it going the way it is.
If, do you want me to ask them if they'd be willing to accommodate that? Is that-
yeah, I think so, as long as it works for them and it's not causing them major headaches, I think we should.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any, like, the dates, we don't have date flexibility, the state sets the dates, so they're gonna be Tuesdays and they're gonna fall during school, so. All right, I will open that door. It would certainly eliminate some confusion for people. And we'll see how if it's a real inconvenience for them, if we have to talk about doing some of them there, we'll work it out, but, okay. Good, I think that's all I have, thank you.
Less confusion is better.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions or anything for Chris before we move on from his report?
When you're, do you have like a list of requirements for your IT contract, or you brainstormed it yet?
Yeah, I've got I'll send it to you. I've got a draft of an RFP, which is basically a scope of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
For this one person or people.
It'll
is
be a
gonna-
firm, and I'll.
The firm is gonna cover the police department. You, under CGIS, you have to execute a data exchange agreement with them as a third-party contractor, and there's a template that you can go by. But it's basically a confidentiality / responsibility type
Yeah.
agreement, so.
Yeah, we've got, CGIS is in our RFP. Somebody that's done CGIS work before is one of the things that we're looking for in the RFP. But I'm gonna send you this and you can
Okay.
look at it.
Okay, I don't think we had any action items from last meeting except for
Conservation
Scenic roads.
scenic
and
roads.
scenic road signs.
Oh, yep. Which I think the pricing was
Yeah.
minimal, right?
Yeah, we were waiting on there's a design tweak that was needed, it's moving forward, I think
Yeah.
we'll get there. The pricing's not, it's less than $1,000, whatever it was, it's not gonna break us. So
you're
we're
gonna move
rolling
with
forward,
them.
yeah,
Everybody good with
yeah,
that?
unless there's some
Yeah.
concern about it, yeah.
John?
No, I'm fine with that. There's something else I was trying to think of, that, the Conservation Commission.
They'll be coming back to you, around the debt repayment on the Mulligan question.
That's it.
Yeah, they're gonna tackle that question at their next meeting, and then your meeting immediately following that, they'll be back to
So
discuss
is that
with
2
you.
weeks from tonight?
No,
Or is
it's
oh,
later than
later
that, but
than
it's
that? Okay.
before our deadline to pay off the debt. So
Okay.
you'll know what they're doing before you have to do anything in June.
Okay,
Our next payments are due in early June on those, so we're gonna use April to let the Conservation Commission catch up to you, and then
Yeah.
we have May to finalize, so.
okay. Cool, awesome. All right, you wanna talk about board assignments under?
One more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
The weight limits on the road.
Weight limits on the road, it's gonna be weather driven. We were, last I talked to Sean was late last week about it. He was hoping that those were gonna get lifted later this week. It was an optimistic hope. With this cold, I don't know what that's gonna do. They're gonna need to thaw out again and perhaps dry out again before we can lift them, but, as soon as is practicable, they will. And we actually, being this cold, we're able to let people use them on an on-call permit basis because they're not doing any damage when they're frozen. So we've been able to accommodate a lot of people early mornings, a couple days last week and this week. So it's not been as disruptive as it might have been so far. Is that
When would you be removing the signs, when he thinks it's off?
when the roads have, when the frost is completely out and dried out enough that the rutting won't be horrific. That's what you're looking for, is
Yeah,
to get the frost out.
it's all
and
fresh
that-
new signs all the way up, so it's kinda curious, you know?
Yeah. Well, we have a lot more roads that it applies to than we used to.
Right.
so.
Yes, yes it does.
Some people are trying to build houses and,
I know.
do things. and-
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's those people, you know?
Well, it's new for a lot of the people on the new roads too.
Yeah.
You know, they just hadn't heard of it or thought about it in the past. So. Okay, you wanna talk about board assignments as an action item from the last meeting?
Well, we gotta put people to where they gotta go.
Yep.
I volunteered myself to go on the budget.
Anybody else have any burning passions for any?
I like them CIP.
I wanna stick with Marston. I mean, planning is the elephant in the room, right?
I was just on it last year,
I understand. I understand.
so. I know I'll be back on it before it's over anyway, so.
What, toss coins? Flip coins?
I mean, I would do it, but those days I am in Boston, so it'll be hard for me to make it.
Wednesdays. I think so.
Every
Not
other.
every other.
Typically every other Wednesday.
Same week as us or off week? From us?
It depends on the calendar.
It bounces, yeah, it's not consistent.
Okay.
Well, they're consistent and you're consistent, but sometimes the holidays stagger whether you're meeting the same week or off weeks, but they're
Yep.
they're generally,
Yeah, I'd say the majority of the time that they're pretty consistent with what we're doing. If you haven't made if you had a meeting, if we had a meeting here, that's how I always remembered, I knew I was gonna have a meeting on Wednesday.
So they're the same week, yeah.
Right, and then you'd have a whole week off, then you'd come back and you'd do meetings during the week, and then you'd have a whole week off.
So you don't have a meeting every week?
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
got it,
So, I mean,
okay.
then a couple times it fell off differently when things got moved or whatever, like
Yep.
when we moved our, and it was more because when we moved our meetings than it was because of them moving their meetings.
Yep.
So,
I mean, planning, I look at it, it's the most out of any of the boards by far. You know?
Oh,
And
Yep.
not, I don't mind doing it, but I do it for like 3 months. I think it should switch. 'Cause I was on it
Yeah,
before John. I
you
mean,
did it
not-
before John.
And I mean, not saying that, again, and they last anywhere from an hour to 5 hours, so.
there's some big things coming up.
I don't mind doing it to start or whatever, and then if there's, but I don't wanna be on it for a full year, that's for sure.
Here you go. Here's a suggestion for you. You take 4 months, you take 4 months, and I'll take 4 months. I can't do the 4 months during the winter,
Oh, yeah, no,
because
no.
I'll be doing budget.
Oh, I know, no, I get it.
That's what I was thinking of,
But I could stay on right now for the next 4 months, just for the summer, and then somebody's gonna take over in the fall.
Yeah, I guess I have no problem, as long as, I think there's somebody from the board's there, I mean, it doesn't have to be, I'm not into the whole, I'll go, but.
so then, actually, I'll take the fall.
Sure. Somebody's gonna take the spring, doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever it is,
Yeah.
I'll be there, whatever I'm needed.
Well, fall, CIP will start up in the fall, so you're gonna need that time.
So you might need to do the spring, or I know you're gonna be busy with your other, but,
Well,
CIP's not that busy though.
No, it's really gathering
but
all
actually
the
springtime would be
information.
now almost, right? Because it's
Keeping
right after
people on
election
task
time.
is the
So you really, your
difficult
4
part.
months would probably start literally in December, January, February, and March, and that's pretty much your 4 months.
when does the other
CIP's is always from October, November, December, and January.
Yeah, and it's, and it's sort of like budget committee, it's a little more spaced out in the beginning, and then as you get closer to, the election, it gets a little more hectic, but, It's,
I'll take CIP if it takes the burden off you.
I was thinking about this. I'd rather not air this out, but, you know, I was thinking about the planning as far as opposite to us.
I can have to look at the schedule, because I don't know. I mean, that's what it
Yeah,
was.
I pull it up, reception was kind of, but,
Which schedule are you looking for?
Planning.
Well, this month, let's see, it's different. They meet, I just had it up. They don't meet this week, they meet next week.
but we're off a week right now, right? We're offset.
Well, we're on
From
this
them.
cycle now, though.
Oh,
Yeah, we're on this cycle.
They meet the 13th. I don't see anything here between now and the 13th. Does that make sense?
I don't have my planning, right.
Seems like more than 2 weeks, but anyway. They met the 23rd. They're scheduled for,
not at the 27th.
no, 27th of March?
No, April. You said
April 13 and 13 and 27 in April, planning board. Yeah, that's what they have
They
posted.
follow that rotation.
Okay, so for 4 months or for,
I'd start with the 4 months, but, I mean, obviously, if they continue to stay on that pattern, I'd be willing to do longer.
okay, so are you doing the first 4 months or?
I'll do the first 4.
Okay, so Ben, you got April to July,
Yeah.
and then August to November. Okay, December to March is gonna be a little heavy.
Okay, sorry, yeah, I'll take August, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure, there you go.
That'd be December
That
to
mean I
March.
can keep CIP or Tony or?
Do you want it, or do you
I
not?
would really like it, yeah.
Fine. Okay, so April to July is Ben, August to November is John,
Okay.
and then December to March is Tyler.
Sure.
Good compromise. All right, so Ben, we're splitting that, and Ben, you're doing CIP. And 300th, Tyler, did you want to keep that, or?
Yeah, I was talking, it's almost
Okay.
over. Oh, no, we just did.
300.
The hang flags and banners and all that stuff, so.
And you're the swing back up.
Floater.
Yeah, he's the floater.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was to say, when they hang the flags up in the town square, last year they had them so high, and
I
I know
know,
those
well,
things,
they-
they got
they-
caught in the wires all the time.
Yeah,
But they wanted them high because of the road, saying if a truck came by, well, I'm gonna lower them this time, but
can you put like, what do you call them, fishing, what are those little
sinkers.
sinkers or weights on
on the
them?
flags.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have them low enough, they're probably gonna be like 13 feet off the ground, so
okay.
they won't get into the.
It was actually Tyler up on the ladder mounting the flags last year, just so you know.
Some of the worst.
We
holes-
caught him in the act.
One of the worst locations too. I
Get
mean, you
pictures
can't
this
really
time.
see 'em back, you know, but banners are coming too, so we'll be hanging them,
That's cool.
so.
All right. All right, thanks, guys. We're all good on the committees and assignments. Assessing. So we had an intent to excavate and an excavation billing. Everybody look at that? Any questions?
That's for the sand and gravel.
What's that?
The excavating is for the sand and gravel for the. I make a motion to approve the, map 69, lot 10 for the intent to excavate, and map 69, lot 10 for excavation and billing.
Second.
All in favor? Okey dokey, that's it for assessing. General business, do we have anything under general business? So, all right. Yeah, that's next on the agenda. Annual priorities. Okay, so every year we kind of like at this meeting, kind of talk about what we want to focus on in the coming year. Topics, priorities for us. My only suggestion is that we try to limit the number so that we don't come up with like 8 things, but maybe we come up with like 2 or 3 things that we know we can achieve and focus on. But we can open up the discussion wide now for thoughts on priorities for the year. And I don't know, Chris, if you have anything that you want to add to the discussion.
Yeah, well, I can tell you what's on my radar, obviously subject to whatever your priorities are, but, things that are either in the works that will take some effort on our part or we'd like to. One is the E911 standardization changeover. That, looks like we're headed for a public hearing in late April on that. And then whatever steps come after that.
Is that the one with changing the proper road signs or?
Street numbers and names.
Street numbers,
Yep.
yeah.
Only where there's conflict, right?
Only where it's not standardized. These are decisions you're gonna have to make, but,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
where the standardization comes in is,
Or Lamprey Drives.
two roads that sound alike, right, that was kinda obvious.
But something like G-Big Road, there's only one of those.
Right, name doesn't need to change, it's fine,
Yeah.
it doesn't, it's fine. Numbers on Jabig Road could be out of whack, could have odds on one side and odds on the other, and could have, you know, the spacing of the numbers
Right.
is really wacky, so, I know you've seen the document before, I'll resend it again, so you have a sense of what kinds of problems they're looking to fix, but it's going to be a few road names changing and a lot of numbers changing, is the bottom line. is
You say
what-
we could have a public hearing for this too? or?
Yeah, that'll be end of April.
Yep.
And then the naming of things where, naming of things that are, it shows up most on the lake is, we have like 3 Bar Dairy lanes and 4 Lamprey Drives where they splinter out all over the place. Those are way out of standard for somebody driving up in an ambulance trying to find a
Tuckaway
place.
Shores.
Right, Tuckaway Shores and Tuckaway Shores Road and
Yeah.
whatever, there's a bunch of those that we're gonna have to address. Those will be those are your decisions as the board, you will govern road names, so that's where this is headed. There'll be a process to get you there, but, it's, it's disruptive and it's high profile and anyway, so it's gonna take some time.
And it's my understanding that after the public hearing, based on, what people come forward and say, we can still say, we're not gonna do it.
Yes.
We're not committed to doing it, we can get public input, and then we can decide we do or don't wanna do it.
Yep. So anyway, that's on our list. The asset management program, where we've been surveying, culverts and all those things, that we got that grant for a year ago, that is getting late in the game. We're starting to train our staff on how to implement that. And then combining that, what we learned from that with our capital planning and our mapping and our, we got a whole lot of, we're gonna have some mapping work to do with these new names. But we could theoretically, within about a year and a half, be in a position to have really good road names and really good information about a whole lot of stuff that has been scattered all over the place for the last 5 years. We've been trying to get it all to the point where we get it all consolidated into one thing. That's within sight, with that asset management. Kind of dovetailing with that asset management program, we've got to do some serious capital planning about culvert replacement. This will probably have to be in front of CIP. It's gonna have to take place sooner, probably, but, we've got two big culverts to replace that are outside of any single year's budget ability within the next 5 to 7 years.
Yep.
And then, if we're doing that, we ought to have conversations about, do you wanna pave more gravel? We've always known that staff have always prioritized Ledge Farm and finishing it, but we've never come close to having the money. There are other spots in town that, you may wanna have conversations about, we need to plan on, how's that, if that's gonna happen, when and how. It comes up this time of year every year. We should probably get to the point where we have a a plan, whether it's pave them or not. That's a decision you should make a deliberate effort to go through that process. So those are kind of things that are kind of already, brewing, whether it's, we've got engineering going on culverts, or we've got surveys going on asset management. Those are already in the works. And then the only other thing on my radar, is the concept that somebody actually brought to me again, and I'd been thinking about it already, is the idea of relaunching some kind of building committee for town facilities, to do that longer-term planning, evaluation, analysis of what our inventory is. With the old town hall, I think we had a great breakthrough last year in getting to the point where we think we can put that building to use and protect it a lot better than,
And it was.
a lot better position than we were 2 years ago with that building. But we have other open questions about facilities. Obviously, the school's looking for space. We've got this building, we limp along with this. We've got the back building here. We've got dreams of, you've heard dreams of a police station. We've got a highway garage that's too small to hold our trucks. We've got, we gotta think longer term about that stuff. And having, in the past, we've had a building committee before my time, but that kind of took some of that burden with some professional expertise off of the board and was able to recommend some things that you may have lived through that I didn't, but I don't know what they worked on. I know they were around when the town offices moved in here. There was a group that kind of spearheaded that process, but I don't know what they did in between there. But some outside expertise and thinking and planning on that front would be beneficial if you want to go down that road.
So if I kind of like take a look at everything that you just said, it kind of seems like that second one is more about facilities planning, right? And then the first one, if you kind of group all those together, it almost sounds like a highway master plan, if you put all those things together. Is that a fair assumption or not?
Well, the E911 stuff doesn't really relate to highways very much. It's a safety thing more than a highway thing. Highway guys will be putting up signs, but other than that, there's not a role for them, so.
More about emergency management.
It is, yeah, and honestly, it's more of a communication effort with the public. That is actually the hardest part of that process, is getting everybody up to speed on when things are changing and how and why and when, because it's so disruptive. But certainly the asset management and the capital planning around culverts and paving, that's very much
Yep.
Highway focused.
Yep.
To the extent that public works buildings will be considered in it, it's related, but it's a different body of skills and questions, I think, if that is a fair
Yep.
answer. So that's my list walking in the door, and then whatever obviously you set the priorities, so, whatever you wanna add to that.
You mentioned the building out back here. That has to be addressed. My understanding, we're all in agreement that it costs more to rehab it than it would be to tear it down. Is that correct?
That's been the assumption I've always operated under, and everybody I've talked to, but
Rehab it, what would we use it for?
yeah. That's a good question for you to ask a group of people to go solve and say, go be the experts on this for us and tell us what to do with it.
I think that's something we should be looking at, tear it down or.
Do you think that's a standalone issue, or that's in the bigger category of, like, all of the buildings?
I think that could probably, well, depending where the money would come from. If we're lucky enough, and fortunate enough to have any year funding to take care of that. Otherwise, it could just fall into a bigger
Okay.
picture.
What does anybody else think?
Would be a good question for a building committee to tackle.
Okay.
And, have them do the legwork, the research, and really see what, is it salvageable? Is it, or is it better, more cost effective to tear it down?
Because everything has to be done, heating, electrical,
electrical, lighting,
Roof, I think.
plumbing, sprinklers,
Septic,
septic.
So maybe we have,
parking.
we appoint a building committee, but we ask them for that to be their first priority.
Fair enough.
Does that work? Any other thoughts on that particular one?
I just think, like, before, when, not too long ago, when, Chris was even looking for someone to do maintenance. I think this building committee may be able to come, go back to Chris, and it comes to us, that, hey, if we don't do something on this building, another demo job coming up, so.
Yeah.
Not there yet, Liz?
Careful what you wish for.
Seriously.
But yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay,
Gary Anderson on it,
Yeah, he's the one that approached me about it, yeah.
be great.
exactly.
Working now is pushing it, so.
Okay, other priorities. I mean, do we all agree that E911 is a
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
priority? Yeah. Yeah.
looking at the capital planning for the culvert replacements, I actually think we should take it up a level higher and maybe look at capital planning, for the years ahead for, road development, or, to absorb the, the costs related to all the new town roads, the engineering, right? Maybe even a capital reserve fund, just to take the bite out of the tax bill every year, but.
We never finished the conversation about putting a road standard out there either. Not that I'm advocating for it, but I'm just saying, that was never a conversation that was finished. So, not to tie up loose ends, but it was something that we talked about, that,
It says accessible by car, kayak, or canoe. It's good.
I almost think that we could probably pass the same road standard again without any grief, because there was an erroneous assumption that it was a backdoor effort to keep the lake roads out, and it just wasn't. That was never the case. One,
I mean, roads are left. what,
private, emergency lanes.
4,
And, well, there's a few of them there that they're by choice too, I don't think they,
So, quick question, go back to E911, I'm sorry not to back this up a little bit, but, I think I've asked you this question before, like Barnary and Lane. If they go to the part of the offshoots are labeled different, are they still falling under town roads?
Yep.
They're by a different,
Yep. Yeah, the E911 stuff will have no impact on ownership, maintenance, legal status, anything. It's just how you find it on a map. Yeah, no change. That's why the effort to nail down, since the first big block of private road acceptances, so that was two town meetings ago now. The effort to get everybody on the same page about what is the town road, that's why that's so important. So it sets up that E911 thing where we say, okay, we've established that, yes, we're calling these 3 things Lamprey Drive, but they're all class 5 town roads. 2 of those things probably aren't gonna be Lamprey Drive in 2 years, but they're still gonna be class 5 town roads.
Okay.
And actually, that was the other thing I was thinking of about a reserve fund, was like the survey, trying to discover where the roads really are, right? Was it on this side of the boulder or that side of the boulder? Or, does it go around these trees or through where that tree is, and so on, right? Huh?
Up and over the tree.
Up and over, right, so, that's just, it's a lot of effort and expense, and I think a reserve fund might be the way to go, to smooth it out over the years
So
ahead.
reserve fund for culverts or for roads in general? or-
Just road development and engineering, right, to cover the engineering, the survey work,
are you saying a warrant article for us to put up? So we can start banking money away for these future expenditures on this projects? Is that where you're going with it? I'm just asking.
maybe, I'm just brainstorming.
No, exactly, I'm trying to
Yeah.
get on your page of like how,
Yeah,
so the
You know.
engineering cost, that comes out of highway?
Yeah, it depends on the project or whatever you're working, but we have ongoing,
If we have something like capital reserve, all engineering costs could potentially come out of that, but instead of.
yeah, it depends on how you set up the reserve and who had authority to spend it, yeah, but yes. A capital reserve can be held by town meeting, or they can make you or anybody else the agents of the fund to spend it, so that, it depends entirely on how you set it up. We typically think of using the capital reserve funds to even out the tax impact rather than, doesn't make it go away. You still gotta put the money in the
Right.
capital reserve, so you gotta tax the money, but for something like a $750,000 culvert project that we have on the radar, we have 2 of those, we don't have
$750,000.
in any given year, we don't, right, and if we were to try and tax that at one point, we'd either not get the votes
Yeah.
or we'd spike the tax rate, so that's where, a reserve fund, that's what we were thinking with a culvert-based reserve fund prior to this year, was to get started on that, so we'll come back with that, but just because those and you start talking about paving gravel, it's the same thing. Paving Ledge Farm Road, for example, may or may not be a priority of yours, but if you decide you wanna do it, it's gonna cost more than we were typically accustomed to spending in a single year, so the reserve funds can help you even that out. Doesn't get you out of paying for it, but it does smooth it out.
So, like, we have like highway, fund for highway trucks and all of that, right? But we don't have one for highway projects.
Correct.
So we could think about having one for highway projects that might cover engineering and culverts and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep. Yeah, it depends on how you defined it, but yes.
The board reserves, right, or say what it goes for. I'd like to see it be labeled for, specifically for engineering costs, is that zone, and not turn around and use it for another piece of equipment.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the vote to create it, you have to get town meeting's authorization to create it and carry money over from year to year. In that design, you would say who gets to spend the money.
You have to be more specific about where it's going, or what we're
Yeah.
doing with it.
Yeah, and who makes the decision, and in most of our reserve funds are, town meeting makes the decision. They hold the purse strings. They can give that authority, town meeting can give that authority to you, which you have with the building, we have a building emergency ETF fund that's available to you if you need it, that you're the agents of that fund. So we have, 40 grand sitting somewhere waiting for a furnace to explode, because you don't wanna wait till March,
Right.
to have that money, so you can set it up either way.
And what do we do with the ARPA funds?
That's the hidden little bonus behind this capital planning, is once you figure out what direction you wanna go, then it makes sense to talk about ARPA and say, okay, what's a good use of ARPA? It's a financial question and a political question. What do we know we need the money for? What are we gonna get approval for? What do we wanna do first? That's your money at this point, so.
So projects like culverts, bridge, whatever, Kelsey Road would be really a priority.
That makes sense, yep.
Yeah.
Hey, culverts. Culverts is huge, I mean,
Yeah.
Is Kelsey one of them?
Yeah,
One of these?
Kelsey and Cooper Hill are the 2 biggest ones.
Cooper Hill, yeah.
Berry Road is not far behind.
So, are you saying then, Chris, like, if you mentioned, like, looking at the asset management, survey, the results from that, and then from that, trying to plan out what we're gonna do with culverts, right? Whether we're gonna pave gravel roads or whatever. So is that the information that we need in order to determine how we're gonna use the ARPA funds?
It will help you make if you wanna use ARPA in that realm, it will help you do that. You don't have to use ARPA, you've got a lot of flexibility with ARPA. You can do all kinds of things. That's me, really, just thinking about what are our priorities.
Yeah.
And what are the things that you're gonna struggle to find money to do,
Yeah,
which ARPA's not a struggle, it's just there for you.
Yeah.
to-
but we need
Good
we need the data and the plan in order to apply the ARPA funds to it. And so that asset
Yeah.
management plan, the culvert study can help us with that.
Yeah, and everything else that you have in the CIP is you can think about ARPA in that context as well, that, you know, you can save tax impact by spending ARPA money instead of
Yep.
tax money. That's, those are all options that'll be available to you. And you've got 2.5 years anyway to spend the ARPA money, commit the ARPA money.
I don't know if those roads rolled up, those culverts might not hold up.
Yeah, we think they will at this point, but, yeah, the last numbers we got, but,
If we have a Mother's Day flood again, it might not. Natural catastrophe, because we're gonna see the problem.
yeah, that could open up other funding help too, but, yeah, but we're not gonna wish for that, but.
Yeah.
Okay, anything that Chris hasn't mentioned that you guys wanna put on the table as a priority for the year?
Do we need to maybe take a deep dive into the recycling center and maybe finding other ways of making money with it, different ways? You know, the market is all but non-existent.
I don't mind that conversation one bit. It's a thorn in our existence. It's gonna cost us more money every year. It's a growing debt.
Tyler, Ben?
I'm not opposed to trying to tackle the issue. I just don't know if that should be a priority.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that that's something that we could get done in a year. 'Cause I, you know,
It's gonna be a multi-year project.
yeah, I mean, it would certainly set up future boards to carry on the work.
Maybe a good start, we can start it, but it's not gonna end with us, it'll have to continue on with the next one. I think that's probably gonna be a 2 or 3 year project. My opinion, I don't know what anybody else thinks, but
John?
I'm trying to think of what we're talking about for how long, I mean, what are we talking about doing there? I mean, we're not gonna rebuild the building or do anything like this, that costs us a crap load of freaking money.
I don't know, but I mean, we gotta find ultimate ways of trying to, offset the cost of operating it. You know, that's clearly no, the trucking aspect of going to the roof this year,
Yeah,
because prices and all that. Not necessarily disposal fees though, I'm sure that's gonna come next,
oh yeah.
so, you know, it's things like that that we try to tackle. There's a places closer to home, there are other companies that maybe we can utilize, you know, that can take our bulk and use other stuff with it as far as recycling and what have you, lessen our burden as far as, disposal fees and what have you. And I mean, there's other options that we can look at to try to reduce the cost of different companies and so on. Right now, we're just using waste management most of it, right?
No, Waste Management just does MSW. We're going to other locations for other materials.
Yeah, they're trucking away as far as, Massachusetts, right?
Our paper goes to Massachusetts, oftentimes, yeah.
That's why I'm thinking it could be one year.
Oh, yeah.
So, it seems like you agree.
No, I've read about, you know, like I brought up, like, alternatives for the glass. Cause I'd read an article about how some towns were basically, you know, crushing and nuggetizing their recycled glass and using it as filler in pavement. Right? It's like, why not? I don't know if that's viable for us, but, I mean, I just wanna find different ideas, the different things we may be able to do that would forward the recycling mission and be cost effective and,
So Don, I know you say you don't wanna make this a long list.
Yeah.
Just narrow it down to, like you said, a couple.
Well, we're
we
only
don't-
on like 3 now, or 4.
Well, we've kinda got like the building committee, E911.
Yeah, that's
and-
not our committee, that's the building committee. They're gonna
Well,
be-
yeah, but we've gotta,
Yeah.
you know, form it, guide it. And then kind of like the whole, you know, highway, road engineering culvert assessment, how, does that lead to capital reserve fund, does that lead to, ARPA funds? You know what I'm wondering though, Ben, is what if we, like, rather than making it a priority per se, what if we plan like a workshop session? Where we say, okay, let's just start the dialogue, let's everybody come in
Yeah.
with their list of ideas,
Just dip our toe in the
questions,
water.
things that we might wanna investigate, and at least kinda like come up with a list of what it might look like. So,
What, funding or building?
well, start with, okay, what are some of the ideas that we think we want, that we think could improve the way that we're doing recycling, or what we're doing with it? Yeah, specific to recycling. So have a workshop on it,
Alright.
right, and start to think about it, and then maybe out of that, there'll be some things that we can say, we can tick these off because they're easy, or these are things we want to investigate. So, just start with a workshop. Make sense?
Yeah.
Make sense?
Sure. There may be a NRRA, program or something that would help you kick that off, or something. It would be good for you to hear from the regional experts about what's going on in that world. They do a lot of that outbound stuff that I'll get you up to speed on what they have for training or workshops or whatever.
Can we get them to come here to do something, or is this something that we sign up for?
Yeah,
or-
it would be easier to sign up for something they're already doing, but we'll look at both, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's a great
they'll come in and have a conversation with you too. I think you're gonna wanna get up to speed on what's going on out in the world first, before you have a conversation with them, but
think
either
that's
way, they can be a good resource for it.
Good plan. Anything else, any other priorities? So we don't have to finalize the list today. We've got some good things. We can revisit it the next meeting, see if there's anything else that you guys wanna put on or drop off. Does that sound? Good?
Yeah, I like
Good.
it.
Okay. Chris, do we need to act on this library alternate?
Yes, if you haven't already,
I don't believe we have.
yes, you can appoint that person.
Okay. We have a application for board or committee appointment for library trustee alternate, and it is from Karen Quinn, who's my neighbor.
She wants to be the alternate?
She wants to be the alternate. So, there's a letter here about her passion for books and libraries, if anybody wants to see it.
I'll make a motion, the select board approve the application of Karen Quinn as library trustee for the 2022 to 2020.
All in favor? Congratulations, Karen. Okay, thank you, Karen, for stepping forward. One other topic I had was newsletter, town newsletter. Chris forwarded me today that they're looking for submissions by Friday. Any topics you guys, I mean, I can draft something, but are there any topics that you guys feel that we should include or want to include in the newsletter?
Maybe our first call for people to sign up for the building committee?
I'll work with you, Chris, on wording for what we're looking for that.
Anybody wants to volunteer for anything in Nottingham? That can save us money.
Yeah,
You see something out there? Say something, do something,
yeah.
don't complain about it. Try to change it.
I'll try and find a way to say that nicely.
I thought that was pretty nice right there. Straightforward.
Anything else, guys?
Not offhand.
Okay, I'll come up with something and get it out to you guys. All right, I think that's all we have on the public agenda. Am I missing anything? Nope. Okay, I believe we have non-public under A.
Make a motion that the select board enter non-public session per RSA 91-A:3, section 2A.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
I, Tony Dumas.
Hi, Donna Danus.
Hi, John Moore.
Hi, Tyler Eaton.
I've been Bartlett.
Okay, after the conclusion of the non-public part of this meeting, we will be closing the public meeting as well. So thank you and good night.
Good night, Diane.
Night, Tony.